There's a question most people never think to ask, but maybe it's the most important one you could ask today. What if every angry word ever thrown at you didn't just disappear, but clung quietly to your fortune, your peace, your future? In the ancient worldviews rooted in both feng shui and deeper spiritual traditions, energy was never seen as random. Every word, every glance, every betrayal, if not consciously released, becomes a thread. Some threads lift you, some threads bind you, and if enough heavy threads collect, they can anchor your life to struggles you were never meant to carry. Modern life tells us, just move on, let it go. But wisdom traditions tell us something much harder and much truer. If you don't clear it, it doesn't leave. It lingers, not just in your mind, but in your home, in your relationships, in your sense of luck, timing, and ease. You may have noticed it without realizing. Patterns that repeat even when you try to change. Relationships that collapse without clear cause. Opportunities that slip through your hands without obvious mistakes. Behind many of these experiences, invisible residue, resentment, betrayal, unspoken hurt, forms quiet walls. Walls that fortune cannot climb. But here's the gentle truth. Clearing these walls doesn't require grand rituals, expensive objects, or complex ceremonies. Sometimes all it takes is 7 small seeds, hidden in plain sight on your spice rack, overlooked on your kitchen shelf. Black peppercorns carry an ancient energetic memory. They are seeds of fire and protection, seeds of purification and new beginnings. And today I want to show you how something as simple as 7 peppercorns can help you dissolve what has clung to you quietly, kindly, and profoundly. This isn't about superstition. It's not about blind belief. It's about understanding that everything around you speaks energy. Objects, like words, like memories, either lift your life forward or anchor it to the past. A peppercorn isn't magic, but your intention, your choice to clear, to forgive, to release is. And sometimes it's the smallest physical act that carries the deepest energetic change. In the minutes ahead, I'll walk you through how this ritual works, why the number 7 matters, and how to anchor this transformation into your home without stress, drama, or superstition. I'll also share a real story about someone who quietly shifted her emotional burdens using this practice without ever confronting anyone, fighting anyone, or needing anyone else to change. Because here's the secret most teachings overlook. True energetic clearing doesn't require anyone else's apology. It doesn't depend on justice from the outside world. It doesn't even depend on understanding why things happened the way they did. It only depends on your willingness to set down what no longer serves you. And this ritual, a simple, small gathering of 7 peppercorns, is one of the oldest, purest ways to do just that. Not by force, not by shouting affirmations into the mirror, but by working gently with the currents of energy that already shape your sleep, your thoughts, your days. Before we dive deeper into the method and the meanings behind it, I want to ask you for a small favor. If you feel even a slight spark of recognition as we open this journey together, if you feel the quiet truth of what I'm saying stir somewhere inside you, I invite you to take a moment right now to support New Day Mindfulness. Please like this video, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to this channel. We are so close to reaching our first 1,000 followers, a milestone that will help us share grounded, non-superficial feng shui wisdom with even more people who are ready to step out of the heavy past and into a lighter future. Your support means more than numbers. It helps this community grow, and it ensures that timeless, healing practices don't get lost in a world obsessed with noise and speed. When you click that button, you're not just supporting a channel. You're helping plant a seed. One small act of energy that, like the peppercorns we're about to talk about, can ripple outward far beyond what you can see today. So, are you ready? Are you willing to believe that the invisible walls around your fortune, your peace, your relationships are not permanent? That they are just residue waiting for your decision to clear them? Are you open to the idea that even something as small as 7 peppercorns could be the first quiet step toward freeing yourself? Not through force, but through deeper alignment. If your answer is yes, or even maybe, then let's continue. because the next few minutes could be the beginning of a subtle but powerful transformation. A turning point you may only recognize months from now when you look back and realize the heaviness lifted, the old patterns broke, the future began to flow again. And all because you said yes to a practice so simple it almost feels like a whisper you're finally ready to hear. Let's begin. Section 1. Why emotional residues matter in Feng Shui. In the wisdom of Feng Shui, energy is never neutral. Every thought, every word, every unspoken tension leaves an imprint, not only in the air around us, but in the very bones of the spaces we inhabit. Homes are not just shelters, they are living fields of consciousness that remember what we try to forget. Unresolved anger lingers. Betrayals echo long after forgiveness is attempted. Jealousy, resentment, regret, they seep into walls, floors, objects. They weave into the chi of a place like invisible vines, tightening over time if left unattended. Emotions, especially the ones we repress or ignore, do not simply vanish. In the language of energy, they are like stagnant water left standing under a heavy sun, breeding unseen consequences, thickening the air, souring the space without anyone noticing at first. On the surface, life may continue normally. Meals are cooked, work is done, smiles are exchanged, but underneath there is a slow erosion of fortune, ease, and emotional resilience. The home itself begins to carry a weight. Luck seems thinner. Opportunities fizzle before they bear fruit. Relationships strain without obvious cause. Physical vitality drops subtly, sometimes imperceptibly, until one day it feels natural to wake up tired, to expect setbacks, to brace for disappointment without even questioning why. This is not superstition. It is the simple observation that energy, whether emotional or environmental, always seeks expression. If we do not give emotions a healthy outlet, they find places to lodge themselves. In Feng Shui, the home is viewed as an extension of the body. When emotional residues are left to accumulate, they are like plaques on energetic arteries, restricting flow, reducing vitality, making every effort heavier than it should be. No matter how hard you work, no matter how sincerely you try to change your circumstances, progress becomes like walking through waist-deep water. Every step is an exertion. Every goal seems just slightly out of reach. Imagine for a moment carrying a backpack. At first, it's light. You barely notice it. Then, little by little, stones are added. A harsh word you never forgot, a betrayal you never fully processed, a regret you stuffed down to focus on survival. One stone after another, day after day, year after year. Eventually, the backpack becomes so heavy, you assume this is just how life feels. You forget that there was a time when you moved freely, dreamed easily, acted with spontaneous joy. Feng Shui reminds us it's not life that became heavier. It's the unacknowledged energy we are dragging with us that made it so. In the design of traditional Chinese homes, you'll often notice open courtyards, flowing pathways, circular motions between rooms. These were not just aesthetic choices. They were built to allow qi to circulate, refresh, renew. The human emotional system was understood the same way. Blockages needed clearing. Flow needed maintenance. A home, and by extension, a life, that did not regularly release emotional residues was doomed to stagnate, no matter how beautiful its structure appeared. Practically speaking, this means that even if you bring in wealth-enhancing objects, paint your door the perfect color, arrange your furniture by every rule of the compass, if emotional heaviness is embedded in the unseen layers of your home, the results will be muted. Fortune will hesitate at your threshold. Good news will come but dissolve into complications. Relationships will start brightly but dim without clear reasons. Health will feel fragile. The environment will mirror back not what you wish, but what you carry in your energetic blueprint. Clearing emotional residues is not about revisiting old wounds or drowning in memory. It's about making space, breathing room, for new energy to enter. It's about recognizing that grief, anger, and betrayal are not enemies. They are unprocessed experiences as asking to be honored, witnessed, and then lovingly released. Only by doing so can we lighten the home's energy, reset its invitation to fortune, and create the conditions where luck, love, and opportunity are not fought for, but naturally arrive. In the minutes ahead, we'll explore one of the most overlooked yet accessible methods to do exactly that. Not with confrontation, not with reliving pain, but with a simple ritual involving 7 tiny peppercorns, symbols of purification, resilience, and release, placed intentionally quietly beneath the space where your mind softens most, your pillow. Because when you sleep, your defenses fall, your energy resets itself, and what you place close to your body in that vulnerable state becomes the message your subconscious receives most deeply. If you carry stagnant emotional energy into your sleep night after night, you program more stagnation. If you plant seeds of clearing, protection, and forward movement, you program a different future. And the beauty is you get to choose which future begins tonight. Section 2. The Power of 7, Why 7 Black Peppercorns Work. In both ancient feng shui practice and Buddhist symbolism, the number 7 carries profound weight. It is not random. 7 is a number of completion, a closing of one energetic cycle, and the quiet preparation for a new one. Across traditions, 7 represents not only spiritual protection, but also the wholeness of a process fully lived and fully released. It is why many sacred practices are repeated in 7s, why many healing rituals invoke the number without explanation. It is built into the structure of how energy moves, culminates, and resets itself. When we choose to work with 7 black peppercorns specifically, we are not just grabbing what is convenient from a spice jar. We are choosing to engage with an ancient layered symbol. The peppercorn itself, small, round, dark, carries the archetype of both seed and fire. It is dormant yet potent. It absorbs, it transforms, it purifies. In feng shui, black represents deep water energy, the place where emotions reside, where intuition stirs, where hidden influences originate. But pepper is not passive water. It is activated water, spiced and heated, capable of dissolving what is cold, stagnant, and stuck. This is why pepper is used traditionally in spiritual clearing, to drive out the unseen humidity of resentment, jealousy, anger, and emotional bruises. There's a temptation, especially in modern spirituality, to think that only big, elaborate cures can move heavy energy. People seek expensive crystals, ornate altars, long incantations. But feng shui reminds us that the earth itself already holds everything we need for healing. Simple, natural, grounded objects often move energy more purely and effectively than anything complicated. 7 small peppercorns, when chosen intentionally, become enough. More than enough. They speak to the body's primal memory. They offer a language the subconscious understands without resistance. Protection, purification, readiness to release. Imagine for a moment holding 7 peppercorns loosely in your hand. Feel their tiny weight, their rough surfaces, their stubborn wholeness. In that moment, you are not just holding seeds. You are gathering invisible knots. The hurtful words you swallowed but never forgot. The betrayals you buried, the dreams you quietly gave up on. All the small and large abandonments, disappointments, angers too complex or too exhausting to confront consciously. They are there, woven into the weight of your energy field. And now, with the peppercorns as your companions, you prepare to release them, not with anger, not with sorrow, but with quiet dignity. When you set the 7 peppercorns under your pillow or in any space where your body or mind softens, you are sending a profound signal to your energetic field. You are saying, I see what is gathered, I honor what hurt, but I choose to lay it down. I choose to let it be absorbed, transmuted, returned to the earth that knows how to compost even the heaviest grief into fertile soil for something new. There is a particular grace in using something as humble as pepper for such sacred work. It reminds us that healing was never supposed to be inaccessible, never meant to belong only to the few with rare objects or elaborate rites. The wisdom of the earth, the wisdom your ancestors knew, is that protection and renewal are already at hand in the simple gifts life offers every day. What matters is not the extravagance of the object, but the clarity of the intention you breathe into it. So as you prepare to use this method, remember, the peppercorns are not the magic. You are. Your decision to consciously gather what no longer belongs, your willingness to lay it down gently but firmly, your quiet readiness to reclaim the space in your life that unresolved wounds have occupied. This is the true ritual. The peppercorns are simply witnesses, helpers, tiny black seeds that know how to hold the heaviness you release and carry it away without judgment, without noise. This work does not require belief in miracles. It requires a willingness to honor movement, the sacred act of not letting what hurt you continue to shape what you are becoming. It asks only that you choose to stop carrying what was never meant to be yours forever. And it offers, in exchange, a lightness that can change not just how you sleep tonight, but how you wake into your future. Section 3. How to perform the 7 peppercorn ritual. The beauty of the 7 peppercorn ritual lies not only in its symbolism, but in its profound simplicity. No complex tools, no elaborate ceremonies, just your focused intention, your breath, and the humble power of nature. To begin, first choose 7 whole black peppercorns, not crushed, not broken, but intact. The wholeness matters. In feng shui, as in energetic work, form carries meaning. Whole seeds hold complete cycles of life and transformation. As you gather your 7 peppercorns into your palm, pause. Do not rush this part. Close your hand lightly around them. Feel their rough, sturdy texture against your skin. And allow yourself to connect not through words but through presence. Breathe slowly, deeply into the hand that holds them. With each inhale, gather the emotional heaviness you are ready to release. The silent frustrations, the disappointments, the anger or betrayal that may still echo through your days. With each exhale, imagine weaving your intention into the peppercorns like invisible threads, a gentle but firm declaration that the emotional burdens you have carried are now ready to be absorbed, transmuted, and cleared. You may choose to speak your intention aloud or simply hold it quietly in your mind. Words like, "I release what no longer serves me," or "I welcome protection and new clarity" are enough. This is not about eloquence. It is about sincerity. Once you feel your intention fully placed into the peppercorns, you are ready to use them. The most traditional placement is beneath your pillow. Sleep is when your conscious defenses dissolve and your energetic body resets itself most easily. Tucking the 7 peppercorns inside a small, natural cloth pouch, or wrapping them gently in tissue paper, if nothing else is available, slip them beneath your pillow or mattress at the level of your head or heart. Each night as you drift towards sleep, allow yourself a simple acknowledgement that silent healing is underway, even if you cannot see it yet. Trust that the seeds are doing their work beneath you, drawing out the stagnant energy quietly, compassionately, without stirring old pain unnecessarily. If for some reason placing them under your pillow feels uncomfortable, you have other options. Placing the peppercorns on the northwest windowsill of your bedroom or living space taps into the energy of the Heaven's Gate sector in traditional feng shui. Northwest is the sector connected to mentors, protection, and karmic balance. By placing the peppercorns here, you are symbolically asking the universe to assist you in releasing what is heavy and to open pathways for supportive energies to enter. Another strategic location is beneath your primary workspace, under the desk where you handle your professional life, make decisions, and interact with the outer world. Here, the peppercorns act as energetic shields, softening the effects of hidden hostility, competition, or draining dynamics that might otherwise stick to your energetic field during work hours. The duration matters as much as the act itself. Commit to 7 nights or 7 days with the peppercorns in place. 7 is not arbitrary. It allows a full cycle of energy movement and reset. After the 7th cycle, gather the peppercorns with gratitude. Do not throw them in the trash casually. Ideally, you would return them to the earth. Bury them under a tree, release them into a flowing stream, or even crush them into the soil of a healthy plant. This final act acknowledges that the emotional burdens they absorbed are being returned to a larger rhythm, transformed rather than discarded. Throughout this ritual, remember, the peppercorns are partners, not magical objects. It is your clarity, your permission to release, your willingness to move forward that activates their power. Every breath you took into them, every night you slept with them near your head, every moment you chose to honor your own healing over clinging to old hurts. This is the true work. The peppercorns simply carry it where it needs to go when you are ready to let go. In a world that often encourages elaborate solutions for every problem, there is quiet, enduring power in choosing something so humble, so ancient, so intimately connected to earth and life itself. 7 black peppercorns, a handful of breath, a willingness to lay down invisible weights. That is all you need to begin shifting the unseen layers that have held you back, not by force, but by release. Section 4, Marissa's story. Sometimes it's tempting to think of energy work as abstract, something poetic perhaps, but distant from real-world results. Yet again and again, quiet rituals like the 7 peppercorn method reveal their true power not in theory, but in the shifts they quietly initiate in the fabric of daily life. Take, for example, the story of Marissa, a woman who had spent almost 3 years working in a mid-sized corporate office. On the surface, her job was stable. She was respected for her skills, consistently delivered strong results, and had built a modest career path she should have been proud of. Yet beneath the professionalism, an undercurrent of tension thrived. Gossip circles seemed to flourish no matter how much she avoided them. Petty competition erupted over trivial issues. Marissa often went home feeling emotionally drained, second-guessing herself, wondering why the atmosphere around her felt heavy, even though nothing official was wrong. By the time a friend suggested she look at the energetic side of her experience, Marissa was skeptical, but willing. She was tired of advice that told her to just stay positive or be the bigger person without offering any real shift. After learning about the 7 peppercorn ritual, she decided to try it, not out of desperate belief, but because she sensed she needed to change her inner relationship to the environment before demanding the environment change itself. She carefully selected 7 peppercorns, set her intention each night, specifically to release the emotional hooks that kept pulling her into invisible dramas, and placed the peppercorns under her pillow. She kept this practice private. She did not announce it to colleagues. She made no external moves to confront or fix the office dynamics. She simply showed up each day with the quiet certainty that she was no longer feeding into the energetic loops around her. At first, the changes were subtle. Marissa noticed that conversations that used to trigger her anger now felt strangely distant, almost irrelevant. She felt lighter at her desk, less entangled in the emotional static that once hovered everywhere. Within 2 weeks, she realized she was sleeping better, dreaming less about work anxieties, waking up without the usual pit in her stomach. And then, without her asking, her department announced a restructuring. An unexpected position opened in a different branch. Same company, same benefits, but a completely new team known for collaboration and innovation rather than competition. Her manager encouraged her to apply, almost as if seeing her with fresh eyes. Within a month, Marissa had transitioned to a new role, surrounded by people whose energy felt fundamentally different. Lighter, clearer, supportive. When she reflected later, Marissa realized something profound. The office hadn't changed first. She had. By clearing the emotional residue within herself, by refusing, silently, night after night, to keep carrying the energetic mud of others, she had shifted her own resonance. And as her inner field became less aligned with drama and heaviness, opportunities that matched her new vibration naturally appeared. She hadn't fought for a promotion. She hadn't confronted her toxic coworkers. She had simply made herself ready to be somewhere better. And life, sensitive to every silent shift, responded. The story of Marissa is not unique. Time and again, those who engage in subtle, sincere energy work find that change begins not with grand external gestures, but with quiet inner reorientations. The peppercorn ritual was not a magic spell. It was a signal, a declaration, a retuning of what her spirit was willing to accept. And once she stopped unconsciously participating in the emotional density around her, life opened doors to something new, without her needing to force it. Energy changes first inside, then outside. That is not superstition. That is the hidden architecture of how transformation always begins, one tiny invisible decision at a time. Section 5, what not to carry into sleep. If there is one sacred act you can honor each night without fail, it is this: protecting the energetic field around your sleep. Most people understand that sleep is critical for physical restoration, but far fewer realize it is also when the subtle body repairs, reorganizes, and prepares to manifest the next cycle of life. What you bring into that space matters, sometimes more than you consciously realize. It's not enough to perform rituals like the peppercorn release and then undermine their work by sleeping among energetic disruptors. Certain objects, seemingly benign by day, can quietly sabotage the night's repair work when left too close to your resting field. First, the most common intruder, your phone. No matter how essential it feels for alarms, late messages, or scrolling before sleep, a phone is not a neutral object. It vibrates not only with electrical frequencies, but also with emotional ones: urgency, comparison, anxiety, overstimulation. Even when turned off, its presence can pull the subtle body's focus toward noise rather than rest. Leaving your phone in another room, or at least placing it at a significant distance from your bed, reclaims the sanctity of your sleeping chi. Second, avoid keeping metal keys near your pillow or on your nightstand. In feng shui, metal, especially sharp-edged small metal, disperses qi. Keys in particular are carriers of external movement: doors, cars, locks, all things associated with transition, protection, and boundary crossing. Their chaotic vibration, when too close during sleep, can fragment your subconscious field, making dreams more restless and your energetic field less cohesive upon waking. Third, unpaid bills or financial documents should never live near your bed. Money represents active, dynamic energy, circulation, responsibility, exchange. Placing reminders of debts or obligations near your head during sleep anchors subtle anxiety. Instead of opening your body to pure restoration, you may find yourself grinding through unresolved tensions even in your dreams. Store such paperwork elsewhere, preferably neatly organized in a part of your home associated with work or finance, not with rest and repair. Finally, broken objects, whether it's a cracked frame, a chipped lamp, or torn items waiting to be fixed, act as silent symbols of neglect and decay. Their presence in your sleeping space is like whispering discouragement to your spirit every night. It suggests that incompletion, deterioration, and stagnation are acceptable companions to your most vulnerable hours. Even if you plan to repair these objects eventually, do not let them live by your bed in the meantime. Move them to a neutral area or gently let them go. The adjustment does not have to be complicated or overwhelming. Think of your sleeping space as a sacred zone, a kind of energetic greenhouse where your future strength is cultivated each night. You would not plant seeds among thorns or water delicate flowers with dirty runoff. You would prepare the soil with care, choosing what to allow into that sacred garden and what must be gently, respectfully moved elsewhere. Protect your sleep the way you would protect a rare growing tree, not by fear or superstition, but by understanding that what surrounds you, even silently, shapes you. In this way, each evening becomes more than an ending. It becomes a beginning. A quiet promise that while you sleep, your body, your heart, and your fortune are being restored, not eroded by the choices you made to honor them. Final energy doesn't lie. It waits. It waits patiently beneath the surface of your daily life, weaving itself into your conversations, your choices, your dreams at night, your strength in the morning. It doesn't punish and it doesn't reward. It simply responds to the weight you carry, to the wounds you keep nurturing, to the rituals you quietly honor or quietly ignore. As you stand at the doorway of your own energetic field, remember, you don't need to fix everything all at once. You don't need to move mountains overnight or force healing to happen on your schedule. Transformation is not a grand performance. It's a series of small permissions. You only need to begin with one small act of protection, one small release, one quiet decision to no longer carry what does not belong to your next season. Maybe for you, that beginning is tonight, choosing 7 peppercorns, holding them between your palms, and whispering into the silence the burdens you are ready to dissolve. Maybe it's choosing to clear your nightstand of things that whisper anxiety while you sleep. Maybe it's finally forgiving something, not because the past deserves it, but because your future does. These simple acts, overlooked by so many, are the real architecture of change. They create a subtle, almost invisible, rippling outward. They shift the resonance of your space, your body, your life. No, you may not see fireworks the next morning, but the energy around you, the living, breathing field that listens to every word you don't say, will notice, and in time, life will mirror back to you what you have chosen to cultivate. So tonight, I invite you not to wait for the perfect moment or perfect motivation. Just choose one ritual, one boundary of protection, one surrender of something you've held onto for too long, and then trust the unseen to do what it has always been waiting to do: lift you, carry you, align you. If this video touched something quiet inside you, I would be honored if you would share your reflections in the comments. Tell me, what is one old wound, one heavy story, one unnecessary burden you are finally ready to dissolve? What small shift are you ready to make? Not for anyone else, but for yourself? And if you haven't yet, I warmly invite you to subscribe to New Day Mindfulness. Every subscription, every like, every share helps us plant new seeds of clarity, protection, and deep wisdom into more homes across the world. We are so close to reaching 1,000 followers, a milestone that is not just a number, but a gathering of souls choosing to walk through life with more intention, more understanding, and more quiet power. Remember, release the past not because it deserves it, but because you do. This is your time, this is your night, this is your beginning.